a group of people and see how many people were actually connecting USB devices to their corporate-owned laptops. And that number was 80%. 80% of the people could have been fired, right? So what is the problem? Is the problem with the policy? No, it's probably a good policy to have, right? Control it, be able to control it. The problem is in the enforcement of it, right? And again, a lot of records getting lost in this stuff you hear about, it's not always somebody being malicious. It's somebody saying, oh, hey, you need this data here. Let me copy it to this USB drive. And you copy it over to your computer. And then they leave it laying on a table, or they drop it on a plane, or they drop it in a taxi cab. Very realistic things that happen. They're not being malicious, but they don't know that what they're doing actually puts their company at jeopardy. So the question on the slide there is, should USB ports be disabled? For most companies, I would offer no, but it certainly does need to be controlled. And there's some really neat, nifty software out there that's able to put in some controls in this manner. And I think that the threats from USB devices comes really in two different forms. The first is what they take out, right? So let's say I'm working at my company and I decide I'm going to leave the company, or I'm upset with the company. I can download gigs worth of information, gigs worth of data to this USB drive, take it on here, and they would never know. They'd have no idea it happened. I could sell it to somebody. I could do whatever I wanted to do with it. They would have no idea. Is that a threat? Absolutely it is. Another threat, and not just to these hard drives, is with PDAs and things of that nature. And I actually go through different scenarios in my book on this as well, where basically, people are syncing their PDAs to their laptops, pulling data off, right? So imagine you're a corporation and somebody has a Palm Pilot or Windows device or some sort of PDA, and all they're doing is syncing documents and calendar and all that other stuff. Well, now your data is on that person's PDA. That PDA, they have no control or insight where that's going. Their data is completely out the door. That's a pretty big risk to corporations. So it's what these devices take out, but it's also what they bring in. And I'm not sure how many of you have ever heard this story, but I actually talked to a penetration tester, a pretty well-known one. I said, have you ever run into this? He said, Dan, about 2 weeks ago I used it to break into a company. And what I'm talking about is what's on the screen here is, you take one of these USB devices or a bunch of them, you kind of scatter them on the ground, somebody's going to pick it up. But, oh, a USB device, I needed one, or boy, I wonder what's on that, right? So you pick up the USB device, you plug it into your machine, and just by plugging it into your machine, it's completely compromised. What happens is you can run an autorun.inf file which can install maybe a keylogger on the machine, and you have no idea. So you as an end user, you plug it into your machine, you look and you say, there's nothing really on here. Maybe I'll just erase everything in on there and I got a USB drive. Where realistically, behind the scenes, a keylogger just got installed, and every key you type is being sent to somebody. And basically what this penetration tester did is he created a bunch of these, scattered them in the parking lot of this organization, and it didn't take long before somebody took it and plugged it into their corporate laptop. So it's not just what the USB drives take out, it's what they bring in as well. And not only can they do this, but what about malware? I actually ran a couple tests where I had a malicious file on a computer at home, right, like an infected file. I synced it to a PDA. I then took that PDA and I synced it with my work laptop. That virus stays with it. It happened to be a virus that was on it. Stays with that as it's going across the devices. So a way that malware can get into an organization is through somebody's device. It was on their corporate laptop or their home machine. It got put on their PDA, which then synced with their work laptop, which then introduced the malware into the organization. So that's why USB devices, a lot of people, when they think about it from a data perspective, they think you just dump your data on there. It's a little bit more complex than that. It's interesting also because USB drives aren't the only way data leaves. A lot of people will forward something to their personal email account. Right? I've actually done this. I actually know of a lot of people who have done this. This file's too big. I can't send it through my corporate email. Let me send it via my personal email to your corporate account or your personal email account. Or I want to take this file home to work on it. Let me forward it to let me send it via my Yahoo email account. Again, not necessarily being malicious, but that's a way that software ends up going out. FTPing it, HTTPing it to other locations as well. And you can see, of course, syncing to the other devices. Print screening. This is a funny one too. You got a whole list of Social Security numbers that are in front of you. You hit print screen, copy it to a file, or literally print it, and that data's gone. There's all these different ways that data gets out of an organization. And I can tell you there's actually a number of different companies that are out there who specifically address this type of threat. And they do it at two different layers. One is controlling what types of devices can connect in. So can this USB drive connect in that's full of malware? No. Can a USB device that the company issued that uses encryption connect? Yes. It can get that granular. Can a PDA connect? No. Can a printer? Yes. So this kind of device layer controls are out there. There are solutions out there to be able to do that. There's also solutions that are out there to be able to address what people can do with data. Can I, Dan Hoffman, take this sensitive information for this customer and forward it to my personal email account? No, I can't do that. Can I copy it to USB drive? No, I can't do that. Can I send it via corporate email? Yes, I can do that. Okay? These controls are out there today. Do companies use them? You know, they're starting to. They're starting to get that. And get this DLP, this data leakage prevention. This is really one of the hottest topics that's out there, and including NAC as well. And again, one other quick point to this. If you think about it, let's say that you had some content filtering information that's on your LAN. So if somebody was trying to export data off the LAN and this piece of hardware on the LAN would be able to catch it, think about that people, what if the laptop's not on the LAN? What if their laptop's at home? What if the guy's sitting on a plane? The guy sitting on an airplane copying data over to his USB drive, is a hardware device sitting on a LAN even going to enter the picture? Well, the answer is no. So all these different technologies need to be moved to the endpoint. And actually, I was speaking with an old director from McAfee, actually within the last 2 weeks. And he said, you know what, we had a saying at McAfee that security is the endpoint, not the network. And it's true. So all these network-based solutions that are out there, they might be fine, but keep in mind they also need to be put on the laptop as well, because, frankly, the laptop leaves the network. So now we're going to talk about Wi-Fi for a little bit. And I got a saying that says, you're never more vulnerable in the world than when you're at a public Wi-Fi hotspot. And I honestly believe that. The reason for that is you got all the different threats that are going on from the internet, you know, people trying to attack you, bad web pages, all that kind of good stuff. And then at the same time, your data is literally just flying through the air for anybody to be able to sniff if they really wanted to sniff it. And then you got the extra threat of some guy sitting behind you looking at your laptop, right? I was actually on a plane, by the way, and this was about 2 years ago. And a guy was using Lotus Notes, and this is the true story. And I'm sitting in the middle seat, right, which was not very comfortable at all. So I'm sitting in the middle seat, and there's a guy literally in the middle seat in front of me with his laptop open in Lotus Notes, organizing all his passwords. Okay? Oh, here's the password here. I knew what company he worked for. I could see, I didn't write them down. I could see every password to get into, the key codes to get into different buildings. He had everything all organized while I was sitting behind him. There's a little bit of common sense on that, right? So you look at a public Wi-Fi hotspot, people do look over your shoulder. Is there anything you can do about it? Yeah, awareness. And actually 3M makes them really cool. I don't know if you guys ever seen them. These cool screens you put on your laptop where you can see it if you're looking straight at it, but if you go off angle a little bit, you actually can't see the screen. It's a filter that they're running. It's pretty cool. Again, it's 3M that does that. No, they're not paying me to say 3M, but that's got to make sure I get that 3M plug. No. But literally the data is flying in the hotspot. If you look at any public Wi-Fi hotspot that's out there, they don't include encryption. They just don't, right? So this is an actual IM conversation between me and a buddy of mine I work for that was sniffed over a public Wi-Fi hotspot. And this is me saying this is being sent via Yahoo IM. Nothing against Yahoo IM. I use it all the time. I like it. Yahoo's a good company. But you know what? If you're sitting in a public Wi-Fi hotspot or using public Wi-Fi, that data is flying through the air. And believe me, sensitive information is being sent over that. Another thing, and this actually happened to me. I really like sharing this story. Who here has heard of SSL man in the middle before? Anybody? Couple people? Okay. SSL, of course, a lot of people, it's secure, right? You do your banking, you use SSL. That way the data leaving your laptop, even if you're at a public hotspot or whatever, it's being encrypted as it's going through the air. And that's a great thing. Part of the problem is, well, not a problem with it, but a way to attack it is called SSL man in the middle. So basically, you're not getting that certificate to encrypt the data from your banking website or what have you. You're getting it from a guy who's intercepting it in the middle, and then he's decrypting your data. Right? It's kind of a bad thing. And the reason I like to use this slide is it actually happened to me. I was in Bangkok earlier this year. I was at the airport, and I had been on the road for a while. It was quite a long trip. And I needed to see, frankly, if I had any money left on my American Express card. And I was sitting in the airport in Bangkok, and I go to American Express's website, and I get a thing pops up that says, hey, the certificate's changed for this website. Do you want to accept the change? Now, I know how to do this attack. I've done this attack before. Not to somebody in the lab. But how else can I afford the suit? No. But you're laughing. It's not a good suit? No. But it basically said, hey, do you want to change the certificate? And I said, whoa, let me see the certificate. Let me see what this says. And you can look at it. You can look at the certificate. It's nothing fancy. And I looked at the details, and I said, well, that's not from American Express. That's kind of weird. So what I did then is I said no, firstly. But then I launched my VPN client for my corporate network, right, which creates a tunnel between me and my VPN device. And I went to American Express website. It didn't ask to change the certificate.